From Glenfair Lanes in Glendale, we're here for the title matches of today's JBT event. A contrast here in the handicap division as JBT vet Elijah Melkor is taking on a brand new rookie, 9-year-old Kendall Balea. Grabbed the tournament lead in the very last game today and is right in the thick of things here in the title match. You see that great follow through. She's been taught well for a youngster and a pretty good result there. She is getting 72 pins against Elijah here, and through 5 frames, we have a graphic up there, and I can't tell how far she trails by, but I'll let you know in just a second here. Oh, there we go. She's trailing by 35, so just trailing about half the handicap difference, about halfway through the game, so should have a good one here. Any age and any average, I say it till I'm blue in the face. And yet another example here. If you think you're not old enough or good enough, here is Kendall kicking butt against a lot of different bowlers, and she got herself her first spare of the match and a big fist pump and a smile. She was just waiting till I turned the camera on to get her spares, obviously. What was going on there? So that's her first spare of the title match here. To their left in the scratch division, we got them at it again. Cortez Shankplay and Eric Hatchett. They played a lot of stepladder and title matches this season in particular. Cortez has had the better of them. So this should be a really interesting one, as both of them are standing in front of the ball return on what's left of this year's brand new Nationals pattern. Looks to be just about as tough as last year. Last year was the toughest Nationals pattern in quite some time. They made the ratio just a hair softer, but they played tough today. But there was also a lot of traffic on them, as we had a lot of bowlers today, and kept with a lot of bowlers on the semifinals, so there's a lot of play in them. And unfortunately for Kendall, she gutters there off her only spare, so that kind of erases that mark for her. Good news for her is that Elijah has slowed down a little bit in this match. He has won 3 in a row prior to getting here. Let's see if she can do a little bit better on that spare attempt. If she does, she'll wish it had been the other way around so you get the count off that spare. Now that one's going to be errant in the other direction too. That's going to be a 0-1 for her, so not her best frame there, but that's all right. Anybody's game. And she disses Elijah again. Elijah went for the shake it off, but she went for the oh no's hand on head. She's feeling the stress.
Okay, just relax.
Kendall's dad was telling me she was ready to bail after game 4. She had her worst game of the day of 48. And she was starting to get tired, and that happens all the time. The really youngsters, sometimes the older bowlers fear the handicap, but the trade-off of that is that they usually don't have the stamina of the... be right back. Little machine call over there on the scratch side as Tez shifted a 4 over. Oh, and Elijah just barely covers up that spare. He's missed 2 9 counts and 3 spares total through 7 frames to keep Kendall in this match. Elijah previously with wins over Ryan Zen, Philip Sauvé, and Sarah Halligan. That makes his 7th consecutive stepladder match win here in the semifinals. He won 4 in a row to win the handicap title at Christown back in December. So he's putting up Jim Pensack-like numbers in the title in the stepladders. For those of you who watch old PBA telecasts. I bet you Elijah might have watched the Jim Pensack telecast over the years. An avid bowler, he's getting rapidly better. Loves the game, loves his NFL teams, loves the way these stepladder matches are going. Important that he not miss the easier spare opportunities here on bowling on these tough lanes. Doesn't get easier than a 5-pin, but nothing's easy in a title match, and he just barely covers it. So 2 just spares, but just is enough. He's doing everything right except that, shirt not by Ebonite. Early on, Tez and Eric both bowling well. Tez is clean with the double, while Eric opened up with 3 in a row over there. It almost looks like Kendall and Eric are doing the same things, just because Kendall takes such a short delivery there, and that's a much better shot, but oh boy, just see Eric standing in front of the ball return. Both players are, so the push away will start before the feet start. It's the only way to do it. Takes much smaller steps than usual, and that ball wiggles at the break point. Both the righties and the lefties had problems with that all day long. They had to step left because just right was just out of play, but then they got a little bit of a wiggle spot when they do step left. And they try to adjust off of that, then they 310 or Brooklyn or something. It's another good shot. It's the weight block that's getting in the way for Kendall right now. The balls are one side is heavier than the other, for those you're not familiar with it. And when you throw it that slow, unfortunately, sometimes they can take over. And it makes even good shots end up being errant ones, and it's very hard to figure it out. Well, listen, she's already almost at her average, which is only 60 for the 8th frame. She had a high game today of 114, and that was her last game. So, unlike the usual trend, she was getting better as she went after that game 4. Went up every single game since then. She'd have to strike out to beat the 114 right now, but right now she just wants to win the match. She's still ahead by a little bit here, and that's an okay shot there in the 9th. She's going to leave herself something that is at least partially makeable. That gutter ball after the spare was a painful one for her right there. So Elijah looking to win his 8th consecutive stepladder match. We don't have any official record on that, but that's darn good. In either division, that's darn good. Thanks to our great team at Glenfair for hosting us again. Always accommodating. Long day here. That's a pretty good shot at the spare here. Let's see what kind of deflection we get. We got the spare is what we got. That's a huge spare in the 9th frame, and a nice smile from Kendall. Meanwhile, Cortez absolutely shreds that rack and does not have a smile on his face because somehow he left a 7-pin over there. Well, that sets up anybody's game here with that 9th frame spare. She'll have to do better than the gutter ball the last time. Elijah with only 1 strike for him in this title match. That's unusual. He's been bowling better than that. So a war of attrition here in the handicap division, and that one crashes through the middle. Lucky to only leave the 610. Hard and straight is the way to shoot the spares when they're tough, but Tez elects to hook it at the 7. I'm really surprised he did that. I'm shocked he did that. He wasn't looking for a strike line shooting the 7. Middle of the lane is squirrely. Wow. Well, it's a spare. Listen, when you win 68 times, who the heck am I to be surprised by what he does? All right, big spare shot for Elijah, but I want you to notice what Cortez is doing over there. Even though the ball return's not in the way on the left lane, he's still standing up at the front of the approach, and there's 2 schools of thought on that as he crunches that rag. Some bowlers will move back to their normal approach on the left-hand lane when they're standing in front of the ball return because it's just, you know, more routine for them. Cortez is electing to stay in front as if there was a ball return on the left-hand lane too, so he can just repeat his strike ball over and over again and not have to do 2 different things. Another interesting choice. And one of the other problems about standing in front of the ball return, as Glenfair gets a huge breaking that 5-6 up, is these are very long ball returns. There's about a foot and a half less approach than you would have in some other ball returns when you got to do this 1-step, 3-step thing going on. So you got to truncate your steps even more than you ordinarily would. I mean, that's 2.5 feet of walkway basically. Oh! And Eric crunches that rack and stone 7s. Goodness. Now Elijah to convert this 5-pin in the 10th. He's got it. All right, another nice game for Melcher. He's going to be over his average. Over average on a shot that's definitely tougher than average.
High five. Thank you.
Kendall gets the forced high 5 from the fan club back here. Get that high 5! I think she's going to sleep good tonight regardless of result. Phil ball could certainly come into play here. Hard to tell exactly what's going to happen. We got a bit of a wild card in Malaya. 8's an okay fill, so 155 scratch gives him a 200 even game. That means Kendall needs an 83 game to tie and an 84 game to win. 9 out would be that 84. 9 is more than she's gotten every time except 1 here. So if she gets less than 9 on this ball, she'll have to spare whatever she leaves. Oh no, hang on, bowling ball. Oh dear.
It's okay, honey, it's okay.
So now she has to spare this. She needs to get this spare and 4 pins. Anything less than Melcher wins 8 matches in a row for 2 step-ladder climbs in a row. Tez with the totally opposite way to leave a 7-pin. Well, the odds are a little long here, but she's beating the odds all day long. Does she have one more in her? This is right to the head pin. Man, I wish it was the first ball, but of all things, it's a 7-10. She finishes with 74. That's a 191 in a close back and forth match, and a great performance out of the youngster. But Elijah Melcher climbs the ladder again, twice in a row.
Nice job, nice job. Well, high five you for my dog.
See, the parents do the high five. Very good. That was nice. Kendall's just going to bowl anyway, and we're going to let her. Why not? Go ahead, throw the ball.
You're done. You're done.
That's happened before, by the way, where they just keep on going. I let them.
Okay. Make sure you go over and tell them. Sorry.
Yes. All right, so let's get right back to Schenk here, sitting in the 9th frame, leading by 4. Make that leading by 2 with a difficult spare to shoot at here in the 9th frame. Great job, sir. You bought awesome. We're gonna have awards for you just as soon as this match is over.
Come back here, baby.
8 in a row for Elijah. Elijah, you know what you get for 8 in a row?
What?
You get to get out of the way. All right. So Tez now only leading by 2 in a really tricky spare. 3-9 is brutal because you're right on the line of the out of bounds and where it wants to hook. And that's a fantastic spare right there. I know that was a little bit of educated guesswork right there, but that was a great spare from Schenk. And again, we got anybody's game in this division. Good stuff here at Glenfair. Boy, so much is evaluating whether you think you threw the ball well and then making the correct set of adjustments after. It looks like Hatchett is considering moving back to the right, not in front of the ball return. He's thinking about it. And the other asterisk to this entire scenario is that in the scratch division, we're bowling endless 10th. We don't do that very often, but that's today. If they strike on their last ball, whether it's the fill ball or all 3 in the 10th, they get to continue adding 10 pins to the game as long as they continue striking. Eric is watching the Golden State result. They lost. So Eric is going to wander up to the ball in front of the ball return eventually. I think he was considering that the whole time. Wants to hold on to that, only trailing by 2. Would dearly love, obviously, the strike here in the 9th. Boy, and he hits that same wiggle spot that the righties have been hitting. That's what's so frustrating about this pattern. If you pinch it off a little left from there, it crashes through the face. Eric up super quick at this spare. I hate that. You don't want to take anything for granted when they're this tough. But he makes it. Boy, so much talent. You see them just working through every mental gear they have right now. Eric 16 times the champ on tour. Tez, of course, the all-time leader at 68 of them. Eric would love another win here. Get one back at Tez. These guys have bowled some classic matches just this season. Oh no! And that's worse than anything because you can't get the endless 10th unless you pull a miracle and make it. Now he's only got 183. The match basically ends it right there. That all but ends the match with a catastrophic 10th frame Greek church. Well, let me dramatically set the stage here and try and pull some drama out of this. Matthew Adranya picked the big 4 up today. With some ball speed, pins can fly. I guarantee you there will be ball speed on this shot. Sergio Torres can't believe it to my left. Gotta bounce it. Hit! Oh, that was the right idea. Well, and from scenario and anything can happen, a great start of the game with the front 3. Tez has just got to watch his mechanics and stay behind the foul line. Moves back to the right. Right down the middle is exactly what you want to do, and that's enough to win it. My goodness. Tez expressed to me that he felt a little sheepish. Did you see what Steph Curry did? Did anybody see that?
I didn't.
He just hit another half quarter to win. He felt a little sheepish to beat Derek Acuff as Tez's switch grip fell out in the middle of the semifinal match, and Derek had been bowling great up to that point. Certainly no fault of his. Poor Derek. Hats off to Derek, by the way. He had a black cloud following him all day long. They had to pin him the subway in game 1. Then the pair we had to move him to pick back up game 1 broke in game 5. It was just an unfortunate series of errors that was certainly nobody's fault. Tez is going to try and conquer that back inside line one last time. Well, the flat 10 for him, thank goodness, doesn't matter. 201 is more than enough. Tough bowling on a brutal pattern. Congrats to all of our finalists. We'll do it again tomorrow back here at Glenfair.